I hope that the space will grow even more. I hope to see more great art, and it doesn't matter whether it's coming from traditional artists or from digital artists. I really want to see more great artists experimenting with technology one way or another. Right now, this is one of my focuses is kind of bringing traditional to digital. And I find that, it's both challenging and rewarding and exciting. You can create something new, but I love digitally native art. Hi, I'm good. How are you, Carlo?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I'm doing great. Just writing a bit today, and yeah, I was reading and researching a bit about your background. You have some long history in the space, both in the traditional art and digital art, and yeah, it's very exciting. Very exciting to have you here, and yeah, learn from your journey. That's quite exciting. Where are you right now, Elena?
I'm in New York. It's 3 p.m. in New York. Today's a nice sunny day, so we're lucky.
Nice, New York. Is it normal for it to be like a sunny day? I mean, we're getting close to November. Should be getting cold, right?
Yeah, New York is actually nice this way that it stays pretty warm for a while. Um, Usually it gets colder, I guess, on Thanksgiving, so like
Hmm.
end of November. Not sometimes even, it comes and goes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it
changing.
has its good weather moments.
Nice. All right. Well, Elena, I mean, I'm happy to have you here because you have done many things, both in the traditional art world and also in the digital art space. You are currently working at Live Art, so I want to know a bit more about what Live Art is doing. And I know you founded CADAF, which is a festival, also educational platform. So yeah, looking forward also to hear your thoughts in that process on creating that let's call it platform festival. Um, and actually, I was reading an article from Forbes that you wrote back in 2018, which is, I mean, if you think about it, it's about the digital art space. And I found it very, very interesting on why the blockchain will impact the art market from 5 years ago. I think that maybe that's a good place to start. Elena, what do you think about that? So 5 years after you wrote that article, what are your impressions? You think it's the change has been much faster? You expected it to be faster? What are your thoughts on the impact of the blockchain in the art in general, in the art market?
Yeah, no, thank you. Great questions, and thank you for checking out my articles. So, yeah, I started my journey in this space in 2017, actually, when I founded an educational company called New Art Academy. And
Hmm.
so, New Art Academy focused on art and tech education, and I initially wanted it to focus entirely on the art market. So to let people in the art market know what's going on in the tech space. And I started with online courses that I organized. I also organized conferences with companies like Forbes, started writing for them. Yeah, organized something for NYU with NYU at
Hmm.
NYU in New York,
Hmm.
rather. And yeah, I mean, it was a fascinating moment, when blockchain already, of course, existed as a technology, but for the art space, it was very, very new. And I think, I mean, a lot of what I wrote about still stands today. It's still true, of course. I think that actually, ironically, right now, the key, use case that I see for the blockchain is just to make the transactions easy and smooth and confirm the authenticity. And, there was a lot of going on in between, a lot of hype, a lot of conversations. But I think that right now, this is what's important. And it's just important to have good, strong art that we show. And yeah, so it's interesting. A lot has changed. I mean, a lot has
Yeah.
changed. The best part that has changed is actually the attention that the space has gotten through the years, with some definite ups. But I think right now is actually a very interesting moment where we can see a lot more great art, and when we can see a lot more interesting players coming in, a lot more interesting artists. And I'm passionate about getting more traditional artists into the space. And yeah, so I guess that's about it
Yeah.
from
No.
2017.
Yeah, I mean, it's 5 years past. And as you said, many things has happened. The space has moved forward. There has been a lot of attention. And you mentioned bringing artists to the space. I know you have been working with traditional artists, right? Trying to, I guess, supporting them to make the transition, right? How has that process been, Elena? What are like some experiences from bringing somebody that is established in the, let's call it, physical world, traditional world, and then supporting them to explore the digital art space? What are some of the experiences there?
Yeah, so I actually, in most of my career in the space, I was working with the digital artists. So in 2019, I co-founded CADAF, which is actually an art fair. It's an art fair focused on digital art. And, we started with the first fair in 2019, and we had some really early, artists in the space presenting, and we had CryptoPunks sold at the first
Mm-hmm.
fair. We had Kavanaugh Bosch, and it's just to name a few, but there were really, really great artists, Dmitry Chernak, and with the galleries like Artex Code and Sofia Crespo. I'm just going all over, but really a lot. So most of them were digital artists creating in a digital space, and really excited that that moment was a great moment to start kind of monetizing on the art or on the work that they've been doing for years. And that
Mm-hmm.
finally, there was a tool that could confirm the authenticity, in a correct way, that there was enough attention to their art, and so on. But, since I joined Live Art, actually their primary focus right now is bringing traditional artists to Web3.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how this journey kind of started. And I was lucky to work from inception to the sale on the first drop by a very interesting and successful traditional contemporary artist, Yue Minjun. He is one of the best-selling contemporary Chinese artists. And so we've had a lot of conversations on how actually Web3 space can help him and can expand his practice.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really, really interesting, for an artist who has already a huge body of work, and who's been just very interested in experimenting in technology. He was very open, but this partnership, this collaboration gave him an opportunity to create in a different manner, but using kind of the scenarios or the themes that he's been working on throughout the years, and that are very familiar. That is,
Mm-hmm.
the figure of the, I don't know if you're familiar, maybe we can show some of the images
Yeah.
because they're really interesting. But it's his, laughing man self-portrait figure that has been going throughout his career. So here we took this imagery and, created 999 works of art based on that, with the new traits, with the new items that he's passionate about, and so the idea, I guess, working with any artist, if you're working so closely that you collaborate with, is to listen carefully of what the artist wants to say, what he wants to achieve in a digital space, why he wants to be in the Web3 space, and trying to accommodate all of these needs, which are really possible, I think, with today's technology. He's also very excited about the metaverse. So I'm looking forward to seeing that coming to fruition as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen the collection, and by the way, for everybody listening, either in the recording right now or in the podcast that we share after, the description in the description, you can find the collection, everything we mentioned in the podcast, all the artists, all the collections. We'll have the links in the description. And the Laughing Man, yes, I saw that one. It's quite, I mean, what I found interesting is that this is an artist, as you said, one of the best-selling contemporary artists in the Asian market. And what were when you work with him, when you were collaborating, what were some of the challenges for the artist, or some of the questions he had? What were the main, yeah, reactions to the space for the artist? Anything in particular that you remember that was kind of, oh, this is kind of normal for people in the digital art space, but maybe for these artists breaking into this world, it was kind of different or new. You Can you think of anything like that?
That's a good question. One that I can think of is overall perception of the space and the blockchain and crypto market
Mm-hmm.
that, is having mixed moments, as we are in, there are better moments. Now it's a better moment, but maybe a few months ago it was, uh, you know, less so. So one of the things is just to be brave enough to be willing to experiment with this market and the technology. And that's something that he was, but that's definitely, on everybody's mind. And then, I don't know, it's just he was curious who the collectors would be, in which hands the art will be. And interestingly enough, we were able to track some of the collectors, and there are, some really great collectors who acquired his art, who are really interested in collecting great work. So
Yeah,
yes, I guess.
yeah, no, that's interesting. And the collectors came from live art kind of network, or they came from the artists, like collectors that follow the artist traditionally, like from his traditional work. Were you able to kind of track where the fans, the collectors came from for this particular drop?
Yeah, I think most of them actually were, interestingly enough, Web3 collectors. So those were people that were definitely familiar with his work, but Live Art has a pretty good number of Web3 collectors. I think there are over 500,000 worldwide, and a lot of them are in Asia. And so they were familiar with the work, but some of them have collected Yue Minjun's traditional art, but some haven't. And yeah, so it really was
It's like a
different.
new.
But I'm sure there were some people who are more traditional collectors
Traditional, right?
of his art, but mostly Web3 collectors.
And with the work you're doing with live art, as you said, the mission is kind of bringing traditional artists to the space. Do you also see that traditional collectors are also coming to the space? Is it harder? Is it easier to bring traditional collectors than artists? What is your experience there, or is it purely focused on digital collectors? What's kind of the goal behind live art?
So, I mean, traditional collectors, of course, are trickier to bring to the space because they're very used to what they're used to, and it's hard for them to start using this marketplace technology all of a sudden. And as much as we want to make it user friendly, and I think everybody's goal is to make it as user friendly as possible, it still can be challenging because you have to buy crypto, you have to, understand what NFT is, you have to be able to use a lot of tools that you're not used to. I think that is changing and that will be changing with time. And that's where my programs with Christie's Education, for example, come in place, where we try to educate collectors on all different technologies and all the tools that are available. But most of the collectors right now, I think, are still Web3 collectors.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And I mean, I want to talk on that topic, Christie's and Sotheby's, and the different things you're doing with them in terms of education. But before that, you mentioned something very interesting previously with CADAF. I'm interested in this when you sold the CryptoPunk. Can you tell us a bit about that? Like how did that happen? How did you end up selling a CryptoPunk, and what was the reaction? And I mean, planning, coordinating this sale, because this happened way back when it wasn't that common, right, to sell digital art in the blockchain and auctions. And yeah, can you tell us the story? How did that happen? Selling the CryptoPunk. In
Of
which year
course,
was it?
it was 2019. It was very early 2019 in New York. And that was the first fair that we organized, the first CADAF. So we had a few galleries represented there. One of them was Vass Gallery, who actually was presenting the punks at the fair, I believe.
Okay.
That was the story. So we haven't orchestrated this sale at all. It was very spontaneous. Our partner for the fair, was OpenSea. For
Okay.
OpenSea, it was the first ever time, I think, dealing with art.
Okay.
And it was a very, fresh moment. And we had, Winklevoss twins
Yes. Yes.
attended
Yes.
the fair. And they really liked one of the punks, and they acquired
Ah,
that one. And then
okay.
we're also good friends and continue being good friends with Nana Dekin, who is the
Mhm.
CEO and founder of Artery. But he, at the time, he was also chairman of the board of TIFAP, which is one of the major traditional art fairs, really good art fairs. So he loved another piece and another punk, and he purchased that one. And
And
so I don't know, the prices were incomparable to what they are now, but
mhm,
they were still, good prices, and it
yeah.
was a very interesting moment.
Yeah, yeah. So they made a good deal. They
Oh
were.
my
It
God,
was a good
yes.
investment for them.
That was a
And
great investment. But it was really funny. Uh, yeah, it was a lot of excitement. Even back then, when the twins, when they were interested in the work, and we, were all around the piece, explaining the piece, and then took pictures. Still have pictures from that moment. That was
yeah.
pretty exciting.
And were they, because I think they, not sure if they acquired, I think it was NFT, what's the name? Gateway, right? NFT Gateway might be the name.
Yeah,
I might be
I think so. I think that was Nifty Gateway.
Nifty Gateway,
Nifty
right,
Gateway,
right.
yes.
And do you know if that was before or after they acquired
Definitely after.
after?
After.
So they were
Yeah.
already running
No,
Nifty.
before. So
Ah,
first they
okay.
acquired the punk. It was their
Hmm.
first, I think they said, the first artwork they ever acquired. And then I think maybe a year later or so they acquired Nifty Gateway.
That's interesting. Yeah, and the twins, they are prominent investors, right, for a long time in tech and technology. I might be wrong, but I think they were part of Facebook, right? Investors on Facebook early on. I
I think
might
so. Yeah,
oh,
that's what made them famous. I think
yeah,
is their investment in the Facebook. Yeah, and then they
yes.
founded Gemini, and at that
Mm.
time they were just the founders, or the founders of Gemini.
Gemini, yeah. Yeah, that's yeah, that's a nice story. So you met them, and then
Yeah,
you could say you brought them, and Kate Bass, you brought them to the NFT
exactly,
space.
exactly. No, I
Nice.
think we did a little bit. We definitely put a founding stone in their
Yeah.
interest in digital
Yeah,
art.
that's it's very interesting. Okay, so that's your work in CADAF, which was very early on in the space. And you also had an academy, right? So you from day, I think very early on, you found that education was an important part, and I believe it still is, because there are two reasons. First, it's very complicated, right? To understand the whole space, NFTs, crypto, smart contracts. Um, there is a lot of confusion right now, for different reasons. How the media portrays NFTs, right? And also, I feel like the technology moves so fast and things change so fast. There are many blockchains, there are many marketplaces, there are many movements, currents, collectors, different things happening, artists, different styles, mechanisms. Um, so, in terms of education, what do you think are the biggest challenges, from what you have seen from the students, for all the people you have been able to interact? What are the biggest challenges, Elena, that you have seen, like recurrent questions you see from people trying to understand what's happening?
I think there are two groups of people. So people who are mostly traditional art people, and those are mostly people that we have at Christie's or even at Sotheby's. They just don't have enough understanding on the complete ecosystem of Web3. So for them, I'm just trying to present as broad of an overview of what is going on, starting from the history and then going into all the different platforms and tools and businesses that are in.
Yeah.
And so they're just trying to understand how it works. But then, for Sotheby's, for example, students, I was able to get a little bit more deeper. So for them, I was able to present, just simple things: how to open up your wallet, how to use the marketplace, how to mint an NFT, how to do all these things. So people are curious about that, and they still can be quite a bit intimidated about using it on their own. So they do need guidance. And
Mm-hmm.
then people in Web3 space are very curious about the traditional art market. So they're more interested in art history, in how, how one artist is, what makes an artist important. They're interested in how auctions work, how galleries work. So everything that goes into the traditional market, really. So
Yeah.
actually, they do complement one another pretty
Ah,
well.
yeah, they can help each other, right? They can help each other.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
would be nice.
Yeah, I fall under that group, the second group, the Web3 people, that understand the space well, but are very curious about the traditional art market. How galleries, how they work, what is like the process of, interacting with artists, preparing exhibitions, and how do they manage their relation with collectors? How do they actually get collectors? How do they find collectors? Those things I'm very, very curious about. And yeah, maybe you can tell me a bit about that. So in the because in the Web3 space there are galleries as well, which are very different. But when you look at the traditional art galleries, they have, it's not sure how to define it, but it's like a physical store where everybody knows where the gallery is, and they
Yeah.
have their own style, right? The kind of art they are showcasing. How Elena, how hard is to actually run or create a gallery in the traditional art world? Is I guess, I guess that's a place to start the conversation, but it's a complex process, right? Because you have to deal with many things. What would you tell somebody like me that is curious about the traditional galleries, how they operate? What are some of the difference between the galleries in the traditional art world and the digital art marketplaces galleries?
Yeah, so I think it's very tricky to operate a traditional art gallery, starting, from the fact that it has to be in a physical space, which is often very expensive. So that's a huge cost that is with you. every month. And that's why I think most of the galleries, when they open up, they already kind of know who their buyers are or who the core of their buyers are. They have strong relationships with the collectors. And I think, most of their business is about relationships and building these relationships with collectors. In Web3 space, you are also trying to build the relationship with collectors, but it's more at scale. I feel like, because it's more, it's web-based, it's more international. You don't have to go for lunches and dinners with your collectors necessarily. But in traditional space, it's more personal. You build these long-term relationships with the collectors, and you are trying to, to have collectors that actually really value the works a lot, that wouldn't resell the work right away, not to damage the market of the artist, who are really passionate about art. So I think that's something like that.
Yeah, yeah. It's when we think about collectors, what are like the most popular, like imagine like a typical case, a gallery in the, let's say a gallery that has been successful, has 30 years, 40 years of existence. The typical collectors from those galleries are, who are those? Are like institutions, like companies that also invest in art? Is it more like families that purchase art for themselves? Um, or is it more like collectors that, even if they don't sell the art immediately, as you said, maybe they are looking to resell or gain something back in 20, 30 years? What are the most popular collectors in the traditional galleries world?
Yeah, I think they're very different. So it's just from regular people who are passionate about art and love having beautiful art on the walls of their apartments and houses. And, and they might resell the work in some time,
Mm-hmm.
maybe in order to purchase new art. I know collectors like that, and those are the best, I think. But there are also institutional collectors. So most of the private banks, for example, have large collections of art, of traditional art, not yet that much of digital art, which is very interesting to me. And I would love to see that change. But
Mm-hmm.
they also purchase, of course, art from the galleries and from the dealers. So it's a good range, I feel like. Usually good galleries are trying to only sell art to the collectors that they trust, and that they trust that they won't damage the reputation or the market rather of the artist, won't resell, flip
Mm-hmm.
art, right? Won't sell it
Right.
very quickly.
And is that common? Like, is it common to find like suddenly, even if there is some relation, that a collector actually resells something? And how is that tracked in the traditional art world? How do people actually find out? Okay, this was sold. Is it because we're talking about um, artwork that is, very expensive and is usually sold through an auction house, which is a topic that I'm very interested in. But how do these art sales are tracked when we are talking about, expensive, exclusive artworks? How are they tracked in the
Mm-hmm.
traditional art world?
Yeah, good question. So the sales are kind of divided between private sales and public sales. So private sales you really cannot track because they are being done privately. You don't know what goes on into them. But then there are public sales, everything that goes on in public auctions like Christie, Sotheby's, and other auctions, you are able to track. There are quite a few databases where you can check the data. Live art, actually, one of the fun things that they provide is the database of the auction results. So if you go to the live art website, you can check the auction prices
Mhm.
for everything that's being sold at the auctions, and that's how you are able to track. They also provide some analytics, how the artist market is doing. Is it going up? Is it going down? So it's a pretty useful tool. It's free, unlike many other or some other. There are not that many tools of that sort anyway, but it's free to use. And interesting fact is that our Web3 collectors are consulting this database if there is a sale, like Yue Minjun, they can see that the artist is actually doing very well at the auctions. They can see themselves the auction results. And so that makes them perhaps more comfortable into buying into the NFTs by that artist as well.
Yeah, it's like a more strategic approach, or also as when a new traditional artist is coming to the space, that's for those that like to keep track of the markets, that's a great way to do the research, right? That's a great way to understand what's the value of that artist. I'm actually going to check that out after
No, it's very
the
handy. Very
yeah.
handy.
Nice. That's great tools, and it's on live art, and it's free. That's amazing. And how many, like, when we think about auction houses, are there? I mean, I know Sotheby's, I know Christie's. First of all, because you have been involved with both, let's call them companies. They have the educational vertical, both of them.
Mhm.
They have the auction house part. But if you had to kind of explain to somebody like me that is not that experienced in the traditional art world, is there like a main difference between Christie's and Sotheby's, or they are very much similar, doing similar things, or is there a particular difference between them?
I think they're pretty similar, and they probably have similar range of collectors who follow them. They're just two major world auction houses that exist. As I said, everything in the traditional, or a lot of things in the traditional art market, depend on the relationships, and the relationships come from the people, right? So people who are specialists at Sotheby's at this moment of time have certain relationships with certain buyers, and that goes the same with Christie. So that kind of diversifies. But the type of art, the kind of art that they show is very similar. Both of them are very interested in digital art, have digital art sales, as of recently, since the market has started. They have both invested in products related to Web3. So they're pretty similar. But then there are many other auction houses that exist. The third major auction house is Phillips. That is also pretty similar, but they don't have educational arm or like a public educational arm at this point. And then there are a lot of auction houses that are specific to a particular country. So China has their own auction houses, France has their own, and so on. So there are local auction houses that are specific to the area where they're based.
Right. Yeah, that's I mean, when it comes to auction houses, I've been following what Sotheby's has done in terms of, like, they have done a great job at the explaining the value of recent collections, recent generative art that has been sold. I think they have done a great work communicating, right, the value behind these collections. They have also gone kind of the extra mile, also doing work with all that's called like the pioneers, generative artists, right? Like Vera Bolnar, and they have done, they have released new collections as well. And some of my readers, when I started to write about Sotheby's and the these let's call traditional institutions come into the Web3 space. These are centralized, right? At the end, they are companies, centralized organizations. So some are, a little bit worried um, regarding the decentralization aspect, right? Like the open aspect of the digital art world. What are your thoughts there? Like, because of course you have worked in both worlds. You understand the space well. You have been doing festivals and fairs from 2019, like many years ago. What do you think these institutions bring? to the digital art space that's valuable? What can, artists, digital artists and Web3 collectors, what can they learn, or what benefits are there from these big institutions with a lot of experience joining the space?
I think one of the key things that they bring to the space is reputation. So it definitely, I think that from the time when Christie's and Sotheby started dealing, actively in digital art, the reputation of the space overall has become, much better, and it's become much more trustworthy among collectors, and just, I don't know, the whole thing kind of blew up. And I think one of the reasons was because the major institutions like Sotheby's and Christie started to participate in it. The other important part not to forget are the museums. Once the museums started being interested in the space and having major exhibitions with the digital art, although, and I will correct myself that there used to be, or there were, of course, exhibitions of digital art before the rise of the NFT space, but still, right now the attention that the whole market gets with that is, I think, incompatible. Like MoMA's recent acquisition of Rafik Doll, and many others, LACMA's retrospective, all the Pompidou's acquisition of CryptoPunks. So I think that this institution's coming into the space, it just brings it to a little bit of a different level from everybody's point of view. The more I speak with, or whenever I speak with the artists, they're all really interested in being a part of these institutions. They're artists, and artists are passionate about being part of this established institutions. I think, at least that's from my experience.
Yeah, I think it brings a different kind of visibility, and as you said, it's like a validation from a world that has been established for a long time, that has been operating for many years, decades, basically. So it's not like a silo of blockchain enthusiasts, of digital artists, digital collectors. It's, in my opinion, as and I agree with you in the sense that it opens the doors for new other art fans and art enthusiasts and people that also have dedicated their lives for in this medium, right? And they bring a lot of experience. So yeah, it's quite interesting. I've been, as I said, um, yeah, been seeing their progress and their technology, what they have invested in terms of making these auctions in the blockchain, and making sure like the connections between the digital art worlds, and showcasing everything with the smart contracts and everything that comes with the authentication that the blockchain brings. They have shown that in their websites and in their material pretty well. Um, that's exciting. And Elena, when you think about your courses, your classes, what you're teaching, what are like the things you like to teach the most? Is it what do you cover? If I take a course, or some of the listeners wants to enroll in one of your classes, how what's the material? What are you teaching in those courses?
So I have a course coming up. Actually, this week is going to be the first class at Christie's. People still can register. And the way I structure the course, it's a little bit like a mini conference. I love organizing conferences. So I have a lot of speakers, a lot of people who are very knowledgeable about the space and the particular areas that they are in the space, coming and sharing their knowledge with the students. I like starting with the history of digital art, with having art historians and artists coming, and sharing their knowledge. with the people, specifically at Christie's. I'm assuming a lot of them will be from traditional art world, but I'm also hoping to see some Web3
Mm-hmm.
people there as well. But I think that this, comprehensive knowledge of the history of the space is very important. I love art history myself,
Yeah.
and we'll have that. Um, then we also cover how physical and digital markets interact, what are different tools and resources and companies that are available
Mm-hmm.
in the space. I also love having artists at the course, so I often have a lot of artist presentations. For this particular course, we'll also have director of the Super Blue joining, so she will share how Super Blue, for those of you who are familiar with the space, it's a really interesting museum-like space in Miami, also opened a while
Mm-hmm.
ago and focused on very cool digital art. And just going, between digital and physical, and how two can live together and benefit from one another. I think that that's very
Mm-hmm.
important for both sides of the market, and that's what we're trying to do
Mm-hmm.
with the course.
Yeah, that's exciting. And usually, after, so is this like, how long is this program? So if I, because I've been exploring. Now I have like, some time in my hands, and I want to use it to learn. Because, let me tell you a bit about myself. My background is more in the tech side, right? So I'm
Mm-hmm.
a software developer, and studied a master's in machine learning and data science. Work in the tech industry for around 8 years, and I found this space around 3 years ago, and since then I've been like heads down into the Web3 space, and especially generative art, AI art. But I don't have a background, in traditional art, in history, and I'm very interested about the art market. These things we're talking about, how they work, how things interact, the relations, between people. So would you say, that kind of course is for somebody like me, and for those listening that are in the Web3 space? There are many curators in the Web3 space, collectors, artists. Do you think that there is a value in this sort of course to learn from the history, traditional art history, and then take that, in a way to implement that somehow in the digital art space? Do you see some value there for that kind of people, that kind of profile?
Absolutely. The course runs for 5 weeks. It's every Thursday online, so it's pretty easy, but we're trying to make it as comprehensive as possible. I think it's beneficial for both
Mm-hmm.
Web3 and traditional audience.
Yeah.
You should check out the topics that we
Yeah.
have there and see for yourself, if you can benefit from it. But I'm very passionate about this courses and try to put as much as possible there. Remember the last lecture of the course, we will actually have collectors, traditional collectors, coming into the space and sharing why they're now collecting traditional digital art. So we'll
Mm.
have Sylvain Levy, actually not Sylvain Levy, but Sylvain's daughter, Karen. Sylvain has founded DSL Collection. It's one of
Mm.
the, again, major
Yeah.
contemporary Chinese art. I don't know if you have heard about him before, but one of the major
No.
contemporary Chinese art collections. And he has created a VR museum based on this
Okay.
collection, because all the works there are very are pretty large scale.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll have another collector joining us as well. So it's a
Nice.
pretty diverse group of people who you're going to hear from.
Cool. I'll check, and I'll check the topics, and I'll also include the links to the course for those interested in the description. And Elena, you know, um, as we already mentioned, you've been around in digital art space for a while. You have seen the ups and downs from selling a CryptoPunk to the twin, the with is it Winklevoss twins?
Winklevoss, I think. Twins, yeah.
Yeah, in 2019, you've seen the rise of the NFT revolution. You've seen the market kind of going a bit up and down. You've been into events, organized fairs. Um, you have taught courses at different institutions, well, with a great reputation. Um, so, what do you see? I mean, these days, what is your mind at? Like, in terms of what is exciting for you? What do you see coming? What do you think will happen more? Anything like you see happening that's relevant in general in the digital art space over the next years, the next 5, 10 years? What do you think will happen? Anything, radical? Any radical changes? What are your thoughts there?
And I'm curious to see how it will all evolve. I hope that the space will grow even more. I hope to see more great art, and it doesn't matter whether it's coming from traditional artists or from digital artists. I really
Mhm.
want to see more great artists experimenting with technology one way or another. Right now, this is one of my focuses is kind of bringing traditional to digital. And I find that, it's both challenging and rewarding and exciting. You can create
Mhm.
something new, but I love digitally native art. I see Sasha Styles' book on your bookshelf.
Yeah,
I have Sasha Styles there,
yeah, it's
and I have a
right
lot
there.
of
Yeah.
a lot of other favorite artists. And I worked with so many artists through the fairs. So I just want to see the space mature, grow, become a space of its own. So we have traditional art market, we have digital art market, having a respectable, good place
Mhm.
in the institutions throughout with a good reputation that people are comfortable with. I would also want to see the technology becoming more user friendly so that more traditional collectors can get in
Mhm.
easily. And that, in respect to UX and, the payments and regulations and everything, I think needs to be just a little bit easier on people. And then I'm sure we will see a lot of progress there right away.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree. I agree with what you said, and for me particularly, I would like to see more of. And I think this has been discussed in the past, like more events, more exhibitions, more fairs that actually combine, generative piece with a physical piece and a sculpture, and then it could be curated like a curation from different mediums, and that it doesn't matter if it's an NFT, if it's minted in the blockchain or not. Like, I think there is something there that could be very beneficial, for many reasons, to the art world in general. So this sort of mixing up, different styles, um, different artists from different genres, but also blockchain art and physical art. I think that could be interesting. Um,
Definitely. No, and that's one of the things that I'm really passionate about is in-person events. And that's how I really wanted CADAF to be the in-person place to view digital art, because, you don't want to look at it only on your phone or on your computer. You want to see it at scale. I'm still
mhm.
very passionate about this event. I'm actually organizing a cool event tomorrow in Dubai. So if
Oh,
anybody from our audience uh, is in Dubai tomorrow, it's going to be beautiful, with a beautiful immersive room where you can see Yue Minjun 360. And
okay.
yeah, and we'll have a talk there as well. So
You will travel to Dubai tomorrow,
I
or you will do
unfortunately
it. Mhm.
I can't go, but my team is going to be there. So I'll have to do it remotely this time. Although, of course, I love
Yeah.
participating in this
And
event.
what's the name of the event?
It's called Web3 Beyond Hype.
Okay.
and
Nice. I
I'll
like.
share the link with you. Yeah.
Sounds great. All right, Elena. So we have talked about many things, but I always like to ask the guests question. For some is kind of a hard question to answer. For others actually enjoy and really like it. So, what are three artists, Elena? If you had to name three that you are inspired by, or you would like to share their work with other enthusiasts. Three artists that Elena is a fan of.
I'm a fan of very diverse, art groups and artists. I don't know. I think it's hard for me to pick three and to name them right now. I can think about it a little bit and post it later in our chat.
Okay.
I love, anything from German expressionism to very new digital art today. But yeah, I think the key is not to name the names, but to make sure that the art really touches your heart and your
Hmm.
brain. And when it does, it's very, very rewarding. And there are a lot of artists like that.
Yeah, yeah. It's about the. I like the idea. Like it's not about the names, right? It's yeah, about the art and what it means to you. Yeah, it's a good concept, a good way to define it. All right, Elena. So, well, one last thing. You mentioned early on that, I mean, through our chat, that you had an announcement about CADAF, that it was acquired, right? Can you tell us a
Yes,
bit about that?
it's very, very exciting. So CADAF has been acquired by Live Art and now is a part of Live Art. So I'm very pleased about it on many different levels. Um, I really want to continue with what we've been doing with CADAF at a different scale and to host more wonderful events and
Mm-hmm.
educational initiatives. It's also great because the founder of Live Art I used to work together with at Christie's
Mm-hmm.
when he sold the startup that he has founded to them called Collectrium, and I joined back then. So it's
Nice.
really, it's a good moment, and I felt like Live Art is doing great things, and they're very passionate about great art. So I felt like CADAF would find a really good home with them, and that's how
Nice.
this
Yeah,
happened.
congratulations. Congratulations. I
Thank you
think
so
that's
much.
it's a great story, right? Because you started CADAF, as we know, very early on when there wasn't many people in paying attention to blockchain art, and you created amazing events around the world, right? Different cities, New York, um, Miami, and I think Paris, right? You is
Paris, we
it
did a lot of events. Yeah.
Yeah, so congratulations, and yeah, I'm looking forward to see what's next with CADAF. Will it be operating as CADAF as well, or will it be live art?
It's a
What,
part
what?
of Live Art, but it will operate with its own events as well. So I do hope we can host another film in the near future. Maybe not this year, but sometime
Mhm.
next year would be really great.
Awesome. All right, Elena, thanks so much. I think we are almost in the hour, and yeah, this was exciting to learn from you and learn about all the things you have done and the education work you have been doing. I think it's very important to educate people about the in general how everything works. It's very complicated, the technology, and we need more of education materials, courses in different levels. So I think that's a great job you're doing there. And thanks for sharing the tool, the live art tool to track
Yeah,
traditional
check
art
it out.
sales. Yeah, and yeah, hope we can chat again in the future and see what's coming from live art and CADAF.
Same. Thank you so much, Carl, for having me. It's been great.
Bye bye. Have a
Bye
great
bye.
day.
Bye.